Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and as you may know, the Twitter Files Part 5 dropped yesterday. So we're going to go over those just individually, one by one. This will be my first time looking at them. I decided to just kind of take the day and watch some horror movies, hang out, cook dinner, just kind of stay away from Twitter for a day. But I want to get right back to it. If you haven't, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm really trying to, grow this channel. You can also find me on Twitter at BoltToTheWord. I also have a previous video on the Twitter Files Part 4, as well as a video about Elon Musk disbanding the Twitter Trust and Safety Council. So check those out if you're interested in all this Twitter and big tech drama. And let's get right into these, shall we? Thread, the Twitter Files Part 5, the removal of Trump from Twitter. This is by Barry Weiss. On the morning of January 8th, President Donald Trump, with one remaining strike before being at risk of permanent suspension from Twitter, tweets twice. 6:46 a.m. The 75 million, that's a big number, million, great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. 7:44 a.m. To all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. For years, Twitter resisted calls, both internal and external, to ban Trump on the grounds that blocking a world leader from the platform or removing their controversial tweets would hide important information that people should be able to see and debate. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I believe this is true. Love or hate the politician, it is important that we are able to see what they are saying, what they are thinking. It is just important to the public discourse. Our mission is to provide a forum that enables people to be informed and to engage their leaders directly, the company wrote in 2019. Twitter's aim was to protect the public's right to hear from their leaders and to hold them to account. Well, only certain types of leaders. Am I right there, Twitter? But after January 6th, as Matt Taibbi and Schellenberg, my apologies for butchering that, have documented, pressure grew, both inside and outside Twitter, to ban Trump. There were dissenters inside Twitter. Maybe because I'm from China, said one employee on January 7th, I deeply understand how censorship can destroy public conversation. Anecdotally, my best friend, his wife is actually from China, and I have just heard horror stories about, her family that's still in China, the censorship, the lack of communication, being able to get visas, the whole nine. I'm not going to say who it is, for their identity, but if somebody from China is telling you censorship is bad, please listen to them, especially if they spent any amount of time actually in China. They know what the fuck they're talking about. I understand this fear, but I also think it's important to understand that censorship by a government is very different than censorship of the government. The First Amendment in the U.S. and similar legislation in other countries with similar concept exists specifically to prevent the government from silencing the people. Right. But you can go ahead and say, but we as a private company, we can censor whoever we want, is effectively what you're saying here. Bringing up the First Amendment doesn't matter when you're a private company, so you don't even need to use that to lean on that. That's a false argument. I respect that, but realistically, we impose far stricter rules on effectively everyone else on the platform. We started labeling restricting his tweets when they became a threat to democracy, and it seemed like that was our red line yesterday. He clearly attempted to overthrow our democratic system of government and showed no signs of remorse. He didn't overthrow anything. He wasn't even there. I mean, you could maybe argue that his supporters and individuals that may have voted for him tried to, but he didn't try and do jack shit. So that's disingenuous from the jump. I mean, not that I'm surprised. That's the reason these Twitter files exist, but damn. If this is not a clear reason to suspend him, again, as an unhinged ruler attempting to subvert the most powerful democracy in the world, I'm not sure what would be. Not sure what would be. How about the fact that he is a public figure? He is a public figure that holds half the country in the palm of his hand, for better or for worse. Like, censoring him does, in my opinion, more to possibly incite violence than his words do. Because now you've got the angry mobs that did believe in him and his message gunning for you. No one talks about the girl, the shooting at YouTube. Let's that happened several years ago. Let's pull that information up, shall we? Okay, yeah, so looking at this, at 12:46 p.m., San Bruno police received reports of a shooter at the YouTube headquarters. Agdam's weapon had a capacity of 10 rounds, and she emptied one magazine before reloading. Helicopter footage later showed a large hole, broken glass. I mean, we all know about it, but let's find out about her, the reasoning. The perpetrator was identified by police as Nassim Agdam, a vegan activist and fitness personality of Iranian heritage, and described how veganism was aligned with her religion. It was critical of Muslims and Baha'is who ate animals. Let's see. She complained about the company on her website, writing, "YouTube filter my channels to keep them from getting views." These are the news didn't report on this a whole bunch because it didn't fit a particular profile. It wasn't done with an AR-15. It wasn't a young white guy doing it. But at the end of the day, this shooting did happen, and it's because this individual felt like she had been suppressed, and her views and beliefs and her content had all been suppressed. And so you want to ban, a president, or at least a former president, and then tell me that when you see, acts like this happen, that putting down the ban hammer might not incite violence. Like, you're only possibly bringing harm upon yourself. At least that's again, people are individuals. They can make the choice. And this person chose poorly. Anyone that chooses to engage in activities like that are choosing poorly. Would it be right of any person to come in and do something to the Twitter headquarters just because of putting a ban on Donald Trump? No, of course not. But just like, let's say you're going to the grocery store at 2 a.m. Alone, and it's in a shady part of town, you could at least mitigate the risk factor by going at 2 p.m. in the afternoon in broad daylight. Does that ensure 100% safety? No. My point is, you can mitigate risk by taking different actions, and I don't think a banning of Donald Trump was an appropriate or safe reaction. Thankfully, nothing came of it. I mean, I'm very happy to say that nothing came of it, but my point is, their logic on why they've done it, why they did it, to me, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Anyway, back to the files. But voices like the ones that appear to have been a distinct minority within the company, across Slack channels, many Twitter's employees were upset that Trump hadn't been banned earlier. After January 6th, Twitter employees organized to demand their employer ban Trump. "There's a lot of employee advocacy happening," said one Twitter employee. Oh, this is pretty small text. There we go. "I'm still struggling to understand the decision not to ban Trump altogether, given he is inciting people to violence, that he has led people to being killed, and I think we owe people an explanation externally." I mean, you guys never, banned Barack Obama, and his drone strikes killed a bajillion fucking people. I mean, drone strikes under Trump killed people too. My point is, if you're gonna ban leaders of the free world for getting people killed, you're gonna have to ban every leader of the free fucking world. This is the elephant in the room. It feels like Twitter policies engage with someone acting in bad faith, and if we won't acknowledge it, do we have any belief that Trump will stop tweeting incitements to violence? If Alex Jones was shut down for "get your battle rifles," he's far exceeded that standard. Has he though? I'm not a fan of Alex Jones being shut down for a tweet like that, but I don't think Trump said anything that bad. Like compared to that, he never told anyone to go do anything. That's kind of the point. Show me a tweet where Donald Trump actively said to go do something. If anything, he called for the opposite. Maybe not in the best way, as covered in part 4, but he still did call for the opposite. I think a lot of employees must share these concerns. Is there any sort of channel or group where we can organize more action? There's a lot of employee advocacy happening both here and I assume that's some sort of channel or Zoom, Slack or something. I understand he was our president, and that may have been the reason why we were hesitant to do it, but I think come January 20th, there should be absolutely no excuse why his account shouldn't be suspended for good. I have friends with 1,000 followers that... oh yeah, so I guess he still was technically the sitting president at this point. The inauguration hadn't happened yet, duh. We have to do the right thing and ban this account, said one staffer. It's pretty obvious he's going to try to thread the needle of incitement without violating the rules, said another. Well, then he threads that needle without violating the rules. If he didn't break a rule, then you shouldn't do anything. That is the point of TOS, and you can't just get all willy-nilly with your implementations when something like this, when something like this happens. Let's play a game of role reversal. Let's, talk about Joe Biden or Barack Obama. If something like this happened with them, I can guarantee you Twitter would have found a way to not only not ban him, but justify, and as we've seen before that they have the ability to do, promote those sort of tweets that would be calling for this. It is a game of politics and who do we want to win, and Twitter is just as invested in it as any other big tech company or any other oil tycoon. Fucking pick one. All these big businesses, all these companies, all these affluent individuals with pockets full of money all have agendas, and they're willing to get anything done to silence the other side, left or right. That last sentence, we have to do the right thing here and ban his account. And I can only imagine this with, the Twitter clapping emojis. We have to do anything right to ban his account. We have to do anything right to ban his account. We have to do anything right to ban his account. That's what this comes across as. We don't have a good track record of acting on his account except in the clearest and most explicit cases. And even then, ... Ooh, that Stephen King ellipses in there. Build that tension. Make things mysterious. Grip your reader. In my opinion, extraordinary circumstances demand extraordinary leadership. Censorship is not leadership, it's cowardice. It took 3 years, but I've lost faith. Actual votes, Donald Trump, Republican Party, 232.46.9%. Second this, it's pretty obvious he's going to try to thread the needle of incitement while not violating the rules. Once again, then he didn't violate the rules. In the early afternoon of January 8th, the Washington Post published an open letter signed by over 300 Twitter employees to CEO Jack Dorsey demanding Trump's ban. We must examine Twitter's complicity in what President-elect Biden has rightly termed insurrection. I don't know how I feel about calling it insurrection, I'll be honest. Because one of the Founding Fathers' tenets was that the people are supposed to rise up if they find the government to be oppressive. This country was founded on not being as oppressive as the British regime that, came before and what incited our own Revolutionary War and our own coming into our own as a country. So you can argue one way or the other what you think that means, what the line is, where it should be crossed, but I'm not okay with calling this an insurrection because these people are technically doing what the Founding Fathers stated should be part of their right as citizens of a free country. But Twitter staff assigned to evaluate tweets quickly concluded that Trump had not violated Twitter's policies. I think we have a hard time saying this is incitement, wrote one staffer. Yes, I would also have a hard time fitting an elephant into a jar that's, this big. Because it won't fucking fit, just like these Twitter posts didn't incite violence. You can't take something that doesn't work and force it to work. It's pretty clear he's saying the American patriots are the ones who voted for him and not the terrorists. We can call them that, right? From Wednesday. Another staffer agreed. Don't see the incitement angle here. I see Blank has pinged us to ask about incitement for the DJT tweet. Oh, yeah, Donald J. Trump tweet. And want to see if we can align. I don't see the incitement of fear. What PC could it be to try... What PC could it be trying to incite fear about? Not sure what PC stands for in this instance. I apologize, guys. I also am not seeing clear coded incitement in the Donald J. Trump tweet, wrote Enika Navaroli, a Twitter policy official. I'll respond in the elections channel and say that our team has assessed and found no vios or violations for the DJT one. She does just that. As an FYI, Safety has assessed the DayGT tweet above and determined that there's no violation of our policies at this time. They are just looking for reasons to get rid of him. And if that doesn't worry you, that a big tech company that is literally the public square at this point, where discourse is paramount, that they're actively looking for reasons to silence a voice they don't like, that should scare you. Take Donald Trump out of the equation. Let's pick someone random. Let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger spends all his time promoting fairness and longevity and just being a good person. I mean, we've all seen that meme where it's him at the Special Olympics with a bunch of Down syndrome individuals, and he's smiling and cheering them on, taking a photo with them. Someone says something nasty underneath, like, what are you doing hanging out with these retards, the Special Olympics, like, whatever. But then Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, I could delete this tweet, but I could block you, but I want this to be a teachable moment. I'll put the tweet up on screen. My point is, someone who promotes something wholesome like that. Let's say that people wanted him banned off Twitter because he cheated on his spouse a million years ago, and so they looked actively through all of his information to just find a reason to get rid of him because they don't believe in cheating on your spouse. I mean, that sort of censorship for subjectively what you consider wrong should be frightening. Later, Navarrete would testify to the House January 6th committee. For months, I have been begging and anticipating and attempting to raise the reality that if nothing, if we made no intervention into what was occurring, people were going to die. Next, Twitter's safety team decides that Trump's 7:44 a.m. Eastern Time tweet is also not violation. They are unequivocal. It's clear no vio. It's just to say he's not attending the inauguration. So far, Twitter is doing the right thing, which I can't believe. Like, they're opting not to ban him because he has not broken any rules. To understand Twitter's decision to ban Trump, we must consider how Twitter deals with other heads of state and political leaders, including Iran, Nigeria, and Ethiopia. You know, this is interesting, because I've often wondered this. Obviously, being an American citizen, I don't pay too much mind to heads of other states. I mean, I pay attention to the bizarre individual that is Justin Trudeau, and that's probably about it as far as other world leaders go. I'm more interested in Japanese game developers and tweets about Star Wars and, obviously political tweets that affect the country I live in. But that is an interesting point. How do they handle heads of state from other, probably much more volatile and backwards countries like a lot of the Middle East, where, women have to keep themselves covered and can't drive and disgusting shit like that. In June 2018, Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, sorry if I butchered that, tweeted, #Israel is a malignant cancerous tumor in the West Asian region that has to be removed and eradicated. Is it possible? It is possible, and it will happen. Wow. Hold on there, Sharpton. Twitter neither deleted the tweet nor banned Ayatollah. In October 2020, the former Malaysian Prime Minister said it was a right for Muslims to kill millions of French people. Alrighty. I mean, just because you guys make some of the shittiest movies I've ever seen doesn't mean you have the right to let the Muslims kill you. I'm just going to throw it out there. The Eiffel Tower, kind of a shitty monument, but you don't deserve death over it. Muhammad Buhari, the president of Nigeria, incited violence against pro-Biafra groups. Those of us in the fields for 30 months who went through war, he wrote, we'll treat them in the language they understand. Twitter deleted the tweet, but didn't ban Buhari. In October 2021, Twitter allowed Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to call on citizens to take up arms against the Tigray region. Twitter allowed the tweet to remain up and did not ban the Prime Minister. It says this tweet violated Twitter rules about abusive behavior. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. Okay, that I don't even like that. This is literally the reverse thing happening. They're acknowledging that it violates the rules, but they're keeping it up. So, where is that sort of you? Hypothetically could have done the same thing with Donald Trump. I don't agree with that. I think if the rules are broken, punishment should be ensued. But I also think the rules should be far less stringent because that's the point of free and open discourse. But this is a very strange dichotomy. In February 2021, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government threatened to arrest Twitter employees in India and to incarcerate them. I said incinerate them. Jeez. Incarcerate them for up to 7 years after they restored hundreds of accounts that had been critical of him. Twitter did not ban Modi. Well, you guys got a hard-on for banning Trump when this shit was out in the Twitter ether. God damn. But Twitter execs did ban Trump, even though key staffers said that Trump had not incited violence, not even in a coded way. Less than 90 minutes after Twitter employees had determined that Trump's tweets were no violation of Twitter policy, Vijay Gadde, Twitter's head of legal policy and trust, asked whether it could, in fact, be coded incitement to further violence. Ho ho ho, look at the big brain on Gadde. If you have any context or insight we should consider, I'm all ears. E.g., use of term American patriots, and they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. This is an interesting question. I'm going to speak with my team ASAP to see if we can run a quick survey to get reactions to the language contained in the tweet and get back to you. See, surveying your own folks when 98% of them have a particular bias, that's gonna get you beyond skewed results. I can only assume that they were, surveying other Twitter employees. So that's, or also if you fostered an environment to where people might hold opposing beliefs but are afraid to be honest about said beliefs, they're going to, vote for the side. They're going to basically tell you what you want to hear, even if they disagree, for fear of their jobs, their livelihood, putting, bread on their family's table. So, yeah, this already it's a farce. I'm not sure I would rely on a survey. I worry about how that would be perceived externally. I mean, that's okay. I guess Vijay is at least correct there. I'll give credit where it's due. Wondering if we have anything in past research that could be relevant. A few minutes later, Twitter employee on the scaled enforcement team suggests that Trump's tweet may have violated Twitter's glorification of violence policy, if you interpret the phrase American patriots to refer to the rioters. But where was this when the George Floyd riots were happening? Again, there's so many double standards. Whether you think it was right to write about the George Floyd stuff or not is kind of, it doesn't matter. Did tweets promoting those riots glorify violence? If so, they also inflicted the same terms of service violation that they're trying to claim Trump did, and they're using very, very coy words to do so. The double standards at Twitter are ghastly. Members of the team came to view him as a leader of a terrorist group responsible for violence, deaths comparable to Christchurch shooter or Hitler. On the bias and totality of his tweets, he should be deplatformed. Dude, okay, for those of you that don't know, the Nazi Party was a socialist party. You can Google that, look it up, whatever. They were a socialist party. How much you want to bet Twitter would let Hitler get away with the type of shit that all those other countries, heads of state that we saw earlier were getting away with because, he believed in socialist policies? Like, don't forget, Time Magazine made Hitler Man of the Year back in, 39 or whatever. I get it. You don't like Trump. I don't like Trump. Not a lot of people like Trump. But the Hitler comparisons? People also called Bush Hitler and Obama Hitler. Anytime you got a world leader in power in America, all of a sudden he's Hitler. The only reason they're not calling Joe Biden Hitler is because, frankly, he's not as smart. And that's not me glorifying Hitler. Biden's just a fucking idiot. 2 hours later, Twitter executives host a 30-minute all-staff meeting. Jack Dorsey and Vijay Gadde answer staff questions as to why Trump wasn't banned yet. But they make some employees angrier. Multiple tweets, which is how they refer to Twitter employees, it's like deadheads but for losers, have quoted the banality of evil, suggesting that people implementing our policies are acting like Nazis following orders, relays Yoel Roth to a colleague. So now they're referring to their own employees as Nazis.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I'm not sure who should hear this, but if you took the conversation and Whatever. Plenty of employees are not responding well to the 30-minute brief. I feel people want to feel heard and having someone with the right purview to reason with, and yet I'm sure Jack Vigia are totally saturated. I wonder if we can mobilize people who are on the peripheral of decision-making, but not all consumed to engage with internal discussions. Here's our good old buddy, old Roth again. Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it. Candidly, not a lot of people who are close to the decisions would feel safe engaging there. Multiple tweets have quoted the banality of evil, suggesting that people implementing our policies are like Nazis following orders. Which, as someone responsible for our policies who would direct family members in Auschwitz, is not exactly an environment I want to wade into. People are angry and want to express themselves, but the way the conversation happens can close off meaningful engagement. You know, that sounds almost insightful coming from real Roth, but we all know the truth about him, so it's not. Dorsey requested simpler language to explain Trump's suspension. Roth wrote, "God help us, this makes me think he wants to share it publicly." Well, I mean, again, even if Trump, when Trump got banned, yeah, that should have been shared publicly. That would be good. The fact that Yoel Roth is cowering his boots about that's the sort of thing that should be told publicly. The fact that you want to hide so much from the public is very telling, and you're a disgusting human being. If we get close to suspension and analysis of 8chan or Parler as part of the decision, any links to that content would be helpful for us with Trusted. If possible, I'd like those services pay a price here. Yep, noted. Dell is writing the .per request from Jack to make it simpler, which God help us. Yeah. 1 hour later, Twitter announces Trump's permanent suspension due to risk of further incitement of violence. Team, DGT is suspended. OMG! Exclamation points. Ah! Well, this feels like a piece of history. It is. Saw this message. Thank you, everyone, for your impactful work this week, for the discussion, and for drafting all these complex assessments. I'm very proud to work and learn from you every day. Wishing you a good weekend. And congratulatory big props to whoever in trust and safety is sitting there whack-a-moling these Trump accounts. Can we get them one of these awesome cards I've heard about? Definitely some extraordinary acts of awesomeness going around on Twitter right now. Don Jr.'s account needs to be locked too. I don't know why I used that voice for the last one. There's no one that masculine who works at Twitter. Except for now, Space Daddy Musk. By the next day, employees expressed eagerness to tackle medical misinformation as soon as possible. What Blank said, yes, we absolutely plan to do this in 2021, with the timeline being as soon as possible. COVID is one specific disease. Medical misinformation is a much broader category of harmful content. We've laid a lot of the groundwork for policy and product behavior through our work on COVID and the election. The Misinfo policy team takes in TNS along with folks in health, experiments, TWS research, and other teams across the company are now focused on getting to a place of improved maturity in how our policies are actualized across reporting, operations, global scale, scope, etc. We'll have more to share on this soon. Thank you! That's how I imagine you sound. As a child. For the longest time, Twitter's stance was they weren't the arbiter of truth, wrote another employee, which I respected, but never gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I mean, it shouldn't give you a warm, fuzzy feeling, but it is the truth. You're experiencing the correct emotion. You shouldn't want Twitter to be the arbiter of truth. You should just go there, collect your paycheck, do your fucking job, and go home to your 12 cats. Speaking as somebody who has 2 cats and a bird, so I mean, I'm not judging. Very excited to see us handling more categories of misinformation. For the longest time, Twitter's stance was the warm fuzzy. That said, my dad is an MD. To give context, and medical misinformation is a really hard topic. Even for COVID-19, we only covered a narrow category of information. As an example is, take vitamin C, vitamin D, elderberry. I mean, hey, drink mead. It gets rid of COVID. Misinformation! And xylitol with GSE daily to reduce COVID-19 risk. Good information, creative marketing, or misinformation. Personally, I'm not sure. I suspect there are views on both sides. But Twitter's COO, Parag Agrawal, who would later succeed Dorsey as CEO, told head of security and Mudge Zakhtio, I think a few of us should brainstorm the ripple effects of Trump's ban. Agrawal added, centralized content moderation, in my opinion, has reached a breaking point for now. I think a few of us should brainstorm the ripple effects and potential fragment of public conversation and how we might adapt. Who are you suggesting? Not sure. A few of us on staff maybe to start. The future of public conversation feels uncertain to me. The future of public conversation became uncertain to me when it was all but revealed years ago about your guys' shady backdoor rogues passage-esque dealings with those that are in favor of censorious methods to keep the little guy down. So, yeah, fuck what feels uncertain to you, Parag. I'm glad you got fired. To my mind, we need to move past towards opening up control over policies and enforcement and decentralizing it. Centralized content moderation, in my opinion, has reached a breaking point now. Okay. Outside the United States, Twitter's decision to ban Trump raised alarms, including with French President Emmanuel Macron, German Prime Minister Angela Merkel, and Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Macron told an audience he didn't want to live in a democracy where the key decisions were made by private players. I want it to be decided by a law voted by your representative, or by regulation, governments, or democratically discussed and approved by democratic leaders. Merkel's spokesperson called Twitter's decision to ban Trump from his platform problematic and added to the freedom of opinion is elementary significance. Wow, look at all these countries who are doing America's freedom of speech better than America. You fucking sad sacks at Twitter. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny criticized the ban as an unacceptable act of censorship. Someone in Russian politics is calling this oh my god, an unacceptable act of censorship? Coming from the Russians! The kings of censorship! Or the czars of censorship! That is red hammer and sickle flag, Twitter. Whether you agree with Navalny or Macron or the executives at Twitter, we hope this latest installment of the Twitter Files gave you insight into the unprecedented decision. From the outset, our goal in investigating the story was to discover and document steps leading up to the banning of Trump and put that choice into context. Ultimately, the concerns about Twitter's efforts to censor news about Hunter Biden's laptop, blacklist disfavored views, and ban a president aren't about the past choices of executives in a social media company. They're about the power of a handful of people at a private company to influence the public discourse in democracy. This was reported by Shelley M. Berger, Isaac Gafstein, Snoozy Weiss, Olivia Reingold, Peter. Follow all of our work. Yeah, follow all these guys. Follow every single one of them. I already follow Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi. I don't need to follow the rest as well. This is a big deal. Please click here to subscribe to the Free Press where you can continue reading and supporting independent journalism. Alright, so what have we learned from this? Obviously, we've learned a lot. From the Hunter Biden laptop story all the way down to how they bent their own rules just for a Trump ban when they've let far, far worse threats, if you want to call them threats, I will call them heads of state, stay on Twitter. And I like what Barry said at the end. Yes, the news about all this is important, but at the end of the day, it is the past. What this should teach us is how we handle things going forward. Do we really want a corporatocracy? You know, a government that's ran by corporations? I mean, these individuals at the highest level of big tech and big business, they are doing tremendously terrifying things behind the scenes that none of us are privy to. And journalism like this, real journalism, is definitely difficult to come by. I mean, you're talking to someone that makes videos about Kotaku talking about fucking Pokemon. So yeah, sorry, I know that I want to, cover nerdy stuff, but this kind of trumps that. Trumps. Sorry, I'm easily amused. But yeah, so do your part. Share stories like this. Fight against big tech. Remember, we the people, for the people, by the people. We run this country. They are our public servants. Servants. They serve us. Not only do politicians serve us, but these tech companies should as well. Twitter is the public square. They should serve us and allow us to give rational, irrational, quiet, loud, offensive, whatever sort of discourse we want to attempt to have. This is what free speech means, and it is imperative we do not lose that. Free speech is something we must cling to, and we cannot let those people in control of big tech with pockets deeper than the pits of Tartarus keep that right away from us. I apologize for this long video. Please follow me on Twitter at BoltTheWord after you followed all these great journalists who were able to bring us information like this. Join me in my next video. It will be a whole lot lighter. It's going to be a reaction to another anime rap. I need a break after this. And please, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for joining me here at Words of Paradise.